Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our new Sunday waking up show. Discussions with the scriptures. There's a lot out there that want to know things about the scriptures, so we thought let's make a little program on it here. I'm just going to shut off this banner here. There we are. Hide. Gone. Okay, yeah, welcome everyone. So we thought we'd try something a little different. And like I was saying, there are a lot in the community. And I know myself when I started waking up. And that's why we called it waking up. You know, we go through these stages. When you first get out, every situation's a little different. When I first got out, I ran out that door as fast as I could, and I started running. And I ran. And I kept myself busy, really busy. I got involved in the solar business, and I went out and got certified in the solar business. And I went up. Remember those Arctic areas that I was gone up to preach? Well, I kind of changed focus, and I thought, well, I already got all those connections up there. You know, I was really blessed. You know, if you want to call it blessed. But it seemed like when I go up there and I'd hand out business cards, things would happen. The sky would literally open up. We'd fly out with planes. Like, I haven't even got into those stories. So when I left because they said you can't preach. I actually, I don't know, did a Jonah maybe in a way. If we want to look at it scripturally, you see, when you know the Bible a little bit, you start applying it back to yourself, beating yourself up. And I thought maybe I'm doing a bit of a Jonah here just because they said I couldn't preach. But it wasn't all about that. There was a lot of things. There was 30 years worth of stuff that was bumpy. It wasn't quite right. There was a lot of areas that weren't quite right. And I knew it all the way along the journey. But, you know, you just stick in it. You stick in it because you're thinking. And I always had this elder I would talk to, and he'd say, well, you know, if there's nothing better, you know, this has to be the truth until something better comes along. It has to be the truth, you know, and we would use those kinds of reasonings as peoples in the organization. You know, now that we're out, we might look back and maybe you did something similar. Let us know. So today we're going to cover some stuff. Got some interesting stuff, actually. My good wife and I started going over this talk, Jeffrey Winder, this talk on headship, a perfect arrangement, 1 Corinthians 14 and 40. And we get about part ways into it. My good wife isn't here. She just had to step out. But she might join me online. She said she would, to discuss this again. And I thought it was kind of, I already knew, you know, when you look at this kind of stuff, you already know, right, what you're dealing with. You know, here I am, my good wife, she's not even here, so I can kind of talk more openly. She's not here. She won't know. Is that the way it works? No. She always knows. Somehow she always knows. I can never pull one over on her. I used to think that about my dad. My dad always knew. My dad wasn't a religious guy at all. He was a man of the land. And he knew about religion. He was an altar boy at one time. And he ran from religion as well. He never ever went back. He was more a man of the land, but he was smart. He would go to town, like we lived, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes out of a little town when I grew up. So they'd go in to get supplies, feed supplies, things like that. Us kids would have to stay back on the farm and do work. Well, we wouldn't work. We would play. We would get into mischief sometimes. One time I got the whole yard on fire, and my dad came home and put it out, and I got a walloping. You see, we had these big oil tanks and stuff, and I was playing with matches when my dad and mom were away. One time a neighbor parked a camper in our yard, locked it all up. This camper all got locked up. We got in it. We figured out how to get in it. We got in it, and we got out, and we got in and out. And we left it the way it was. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there was some snacks or something in there. But there was a lock, but we could get through it. My dad knew. He knew. We got a walloping for that too. And that's kind of how I was raised. You just know. So now when I'm on this side of the fence, and I've went through all of that life with my own kids and played that same game with my own kids, as parents, we have this sense about us. We can read I call it the lost language. We can read the facial expressions of our kids when we ask them, well, where were you? Nowhere, but you were somewhere. Where were you? Doing nothing, but you were doing something, right? You see, as parents, we kind of know. When you don't get a straightforward answer, you know something's wrong. And sure enough, when you dig a little deeper, you find out that something was going on with the kids. Now, that's what's going on here with Jeffrey Winder. When he goes on about this, a perfect arrangement, I automatically know, going in as a JW, I automatically know what this talk is about. I know what these scriptures are about. And I know my good wife's not going to really like them. We one time talked about some Bible stuff when we first got married. And she...
this morning in our comments, we're going to talk a bit about the headship arrangement, that aspect of Jehovah making sure things take place decently and by arrangement.
Yeah, so we got talking about this when we first got married. And, I just kind of quoted a few scriptures. And that was kind of it. That was the last time I was going to quote any scriptures. Those scriptures came back at me as hard as I threw them out. I think it was, I don't know, throughout the headship arrangement somehow accidentally I threw it out. Accidentally. JWs, right? JW thinking. And I learned really quick, I'm not a JW no more. And I thought to myself, and I didn't, I told my good wife that I was a JW all those years. It didn't really fizz on her. JW is just like another religion, right? Like her kid grew up with Mormon kid, and they'd play together. Her kid and the Mormon kid would play together, and the Mormon kid's mom would bring the kid over, and they'd do stuff. They never ever went to the Mormon church, ever, but they played together because they went to school together. To this day, her son was good friends with the Mormon kid. Mormon kid got married and blah, blah, blah. But they're good friends, here worldly, right? To the Mormons, right? You wouldn't catch too many JWs doing that. Maybe some, but not too many. They're pretty picky about worldly people. And so, I don't know. We got into the religion when just a couple of times, but not much. I kind of ran from the religion. Ran for 8 years. I was running. And the virus was here. I can quit running. I can slow down a bit. They're not going to catch me. I wouldn't even drive by a Kingdom Hall. I wanted nothing more than to never go back. I wanted to start over again, and it was quite difficult starting over again. It is. It's hard to start over again. You know, we went camping with my good wife's friends, and they kind of run a real neighborhood. Her friends, they live in this community, this cul-de-sac. They're all friends. They have barbecues together, do this, do that together, and they actually go on a camp out together. And so we got invited a couple of years in a row. It was really, really nice. Really nice. It was, if you've been to Jehovah's Witness campouts and stuff like that, nothing like it. Nothing like it. These were just nice people having fun. And why I say nothing like that? Because I've been to a lot of Jehovah's Witness campouts, a lot of them. And there's a lot of politics going on the beach with Jehovah's Witness. If you have a group of Jehovah's Witnesses and you have elders and pioneers and minister, you know, just a group of people together, all kinds of mixtures of statuses in the Kingdom Hall. There's a lot going on the beach when you get those people together because they're judging. A lot of judging going on with bathing suits, with attire, with touching, with holding, with kids playing together. You know, Jehovah's Witness, you know, I don't know what they expect these kids to do, but there's a lot of judging going on. And then what happens is at nighttime, there's a lot of drinking going on with the Jehovah's Witness elders, the older people. Yeah. And the kids get involved too, of course. So what happens? Well, when you're out in the Jehovah's Witness campout, and if you're in the UK, because some of our viewers are in the UK, they call them not campers, caravans. You guys call them caravans. Australia also, you guys live in caravans. Well, we had a small caravan. It was a 23-footer. That's good size. I got a good pickup truck. So we had that. We went camping, caravanning, whatever you call it. And yeah, all my life, that was a holiday, you know, with the kids. It was a cheap holiday. You know, you go out and find some lake, pull up there and just go, no meetings for a weekend or a week or something. You just take a break and relax, go caravanning, camping. So you get these witnesses start showing up, and pretty soon you have a damn meeting happening at your campground. They got watchtower studies planned for Sunday morning. Oh, you got to keep it spiritual, even though we're not going to the meeting. No one can take a day off from the darn watchtower. That's what I noticed all my life. So we go caravanning, and as soon as you get a few families in, you're doing a darn watchtower study on Sundays. And then you're pre-studying for it Saturday night at the campsite. It's all about watchtower. And what's going on? The women are planning it too, kind of, you know, the self-righteous ones. They want their elders' wives, right? Elders' wives, they got to look good. You see all the judging going on? Yeah. A lot of politics going on. It's like a little kingdom hall away from the kingdom hall. And they just take over my campsite. This is my campsite. They all roll in and they take over and turn it into a little kingdom hall. And then they have a drinking fest at night. I don't get it. But anyways, Jeffrey Winder talks about headship. And we get about part ways into this on headship. But before I get into this, I just want to say hi to everyone. And I want to talk about something else here. I want to talk about this new channel. We're going to run this live, I think, on Sundays on a continuous basis. And this is a chance for Gabby to come on. She can come on. I'm going to put a StreamYard link up in a bit. And when my good wife gets back, she'll put that up. Yeah, vintage, you can come on. We can have some Bible discussions. There's a lot of things we can talk about. You know, coming out of the watchtower, there's a lot of waking up that we're all doing. And different ones wake up differently. There's no set pace, but it's all waking up, right? Hi, San Diego. Nice to see you. Lisa. You know, we have a lot of the same people that we see, and I really appreciate you guys coming on. And you know, some of you guys are even coming right online, like San Diego's coming on and talking. That's great. Maybe you want to come on tonight in a bit. Because what this does is it gets us all looking at things from different angles. I don't know. When I came out of the Watchtower, I just ran for 8 years. And then I met this elder in the grocery store. I was going up north. Remember I said I was doing solar and stuff like that, and I thought I was going to get rich doing solar, but didn't work. Yeah. I took my last $25,000 I had in business. I'm getting a little older, so I had this money, and I wanted to put it all into solar, and I did. I was testing some equipment out for a community up north, windmills, everything. And I had 2 guys. One guy was, just a good solar guy, right? Really good guy. And shops, 2 solar shops. And then the other shop, he was this Oriental guy. He lived down there, had a house, has a house here, family, has 3 shops in Alberta here, 1 in Calgary, 2 in Edmonton. And he's an electrical engineer. That's huge in the solar business. But I found out the hard way. The guy that didn't have a ticket had more knowledge than the guy that had the electrical engineering. Hello, Chronicles. Nice to see you. Yeah, this, a lot of us, we think of the Bible, probably a lot of you guys. Here's one, Sherry. Sherry's a really good shalomer. Shalom, Sherry. So this is a chance, Sherry, that you'll be able to come on. We're going to try to keep a format going. And so let's say, Sherry, you have a topic that might take, maybe it's a whole program. We'll do some research. Come on, talk about it. Lots of people have topics they want to talk about. And Vintage has some topics. Anybody out there that has topics, you can email them to us, Discord them, whatever, however you want to get them to my good wife, because she's the one that'll bring the topics forward. And then I'll do a little bit of research on it and we'll discuss it. But tonight we're going to have, on every show, we're going to have a segment to the show where everyone can come online. It's opened up. Come online, talk about some of these topics. And yeah, maybe I'll just make a note of it. It's a brand new show, so we're going to just play it by ear. There's no rules. No rules on this show. None. Okay, so yes, Sherry. Lots of people. Lisa from Australia. Well, hello, Lisa. Lisa, do you live in a caravan? Is it you or the other person? I forget. One of the peoples in New Zealand lives in a caravan. I'm sure they call it a caravan down there. Up here, we just call them campers. Anybody go to the assembly and you can't afford those $150 hotels? The Hilton? I don't care. There's free breakfast. I still can't afford it. It's a lot of money. So I would tow my caravan, my camper. I'd check in advance, year before even, and I'd book the closest little camp out nearest assembly hall. Like in Canada here, let's say you're in Ontario, it's right by Georgetown, that place called Norval, all in the country. There's lots of camping places. There's all over Alberta, there's lots of camping places. So we'd book a camping place and tow our camper in, for $35, we're done. You got water, hookup, sewer, electrical, everything's there. And then guess what? There's showers. The kids can go have showers and stuff like that. And we cook up breakfast. We just go to the grocery store, buy some groceries, $50, you got groceries for a couple of days. So it works. Camping. I love camping. Okay, so yes, I get off track a lot. I talk a lot, but that's good. It's good to talk. So we have, who else on? Linda. Pasta Babe. We were on Linda's show last night, and she went for 4 hours. And I said, wow. I said to my wife, that lady loves people. But that's the only thing I can say. Like 4 hours. You're like Joe and Fran, 4 hours. You guys put these shows on. Eric goes on for 4 hours and puts these shows on, talks to people, just there for everyone. So what we're building is a really good, I think, a really good community. We have a really good community. And it's just going to grow. And we got Culty Talk here. Hello, Culty Talk. Nice to see you. So yeah, this is going to be a format that anybody can come on. We're going to have it. We're going to open it up in a bit here. Now, how do we make these? This is part of our TV programming. Let's take a look at this. It's a new concept. It's just a new thought. We're all doing it, so it's nothing new here, right? If you go to our website or our YouTube homepage, this is what you're going to see. So it looks a little different, eh? You have Monday, we cover the Elders book. That happens, everything's Mountain Standard Time here because we live in Alberta, so you just have to convert it to your time. If you're in New York, that's 11, or that's 2 hours ahead. So Monday, it'll be, we're covering that, I think, at 5 p.m., the Elders book. We're just covering it until we get through it. It's a big book. And we're going to get everything online. It's on a playlist, so you can go anytime you need some information on the Elders book. It's going to be there. It's going to have our inflection on it. You guys will be live, so any of the comments, any inflection, it's important. This stuff is, these videos are put down here for years, perhaps. People come back to this. So it's like getting this period of time that we're riding down the river together. So we're all riding down the river together, and Watchtower cruise ships over there, the Mormon cruise ships there, the Catholic ones away out front. They got a whole fleet of cruise ships. And there's all kinds of different faiths out there, religions, Buddhism, Muslimism. Tonight we're going to talk about a form of faith that's come from the Bible. And they call it Paulinism. Have you ever heard of Paulinism? Followers of Paul. Pauline Christianity, Pauline theology, Paulism, or Paulanity. This is referred to as Gentile Christianity when this all started. So we're gonna be getting, getting into some of this stuff. Quite interesting. And this is what got me researching. We got a part way into the Watchtower video, Jeffrey Winder. And we're going to listen to it just for a bit here. And we'll take a little look at the research. But I got off track here. I wanted to finish up talking about this, what's going on in the channel here. And that's why we're calling it ExJW TV, because every day there's something on. It's real time. We're all going down this river together. And as we look over there, hey, the Watchtower fell there. Yeah, it's Norway. We're going down. Oh, there's Lithuania. It's starting, and Japan. And this is only going to be this time during history that you see these things happening. So on these channels, we're documenting it. We're documenting the news as it happens. We're collecting it all and putting it all into one pool. So we have the news happening, and the news we're going to do a news wrap up every Friday, I think. But on Tuesday and Wednesday, Joe and Fran, that they run the lives there. So Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. our time, which is 7 a.m. Or 11 a.m. Sorry about that. 11 a.m. New York time. So on Wednesday, what are we going with? 5 our time and 7 p.m. New York time. And Wednesday is your outside story. That's where a lot of people come on and talk about their outside story with Joe and Fran. Thursday is a new show that we launched. We've had 2 episodes. There's a playlist to it. It's called Face to Face. And we're just playing that one by ear. We're going to see how that one goes. It's kind of an iffy show, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Just giving it face to face. If you haven't seen that, you can check it out. Friday is the news wrap up. A lot of people like the news. Saturday and Fridays, we're doing that at 1 p.m. our time. Face to face Thursday is 7 p.m. It's a nighttime show. Saturday, The Way Forward. This is a brand new show by one of the subscribers online, Madeline, and her husband, Christiane. And they now have 2 podcasts out, The Way Forward, Christiane's psychologist. It's professionally done. To me, it's like listening to one of those CBC podcasts. And we've had some really good comments on it. So check that out. That has its own playlist. And then Sunday, we're having these Bible discussions. We did start it. We have one of the ExJWs out there, Frank Annan. Remember Frank Annan from Watchtower Help Club? Well, he has a series of 9 videos just launched, and he wanted us to launch them on our channel. And I'm not an atheist, but I entertain all beliefs. You know, that's what this show is all about. So we will be launching those little, they're just little movies he made, little 10, 15-minute movies. If you haven't seen them, you can check them out. But they're just movies. But what I want to do with those clips is open it up to the audience and get some atheists on and explain to us why they believe why an atheist believes this way. Like, I'm going to play it to see if I can believe that way, and then I'm going to get an atheist on. If you're an atheist, 30% of our audience is atheists, so I think this is going to be great for atheists. And I think we have to be open to everything. That's my belief. And I'm going to prove that from the Bible. And I can prove it from the Bible. And I have proven it from the Bible before, but I don't make a big deal about it. The Bible's easy to take anything and prove anything from the Bible. It's a cool book. That's why Watchtower uses it. They think, "Ooh, cool. We can make this thing like magic. We can fly in a carpet. Can we fly in a carpet? Jeffrey, can we fly in a carpet? Okay, we can't fly in a carpet. Okay. Can we wear a crown? I want to wear a crown. I want to wear a crown. You guys can all wear crowns. We can show you. It's in the Bible. Say, well, when you die, you'll wear a crown, but we'll give you one in advance. You can have a crown in advance. We'll let you wear one. This is the Watchtower. We're making a little fun of it, but tonight's not necessarily can be a fun night, can be a serious night. It's however you guys want to make it happen. But it's a lot more fun when we make it fun. Now, let's look at this headship thing. And my good wife did come home, so she might come on. And she'll watch from the background anyways. But we're going to take a look at Jeffrey Winders.
For many people in the world, the headship arrangement is a distasteful thing. In fact, our comments even mention that many women today feel oppressed by it. But why do they feel this way? Is it the fault of the arrangement? Well, the answer is no. The headship arrangement is a perfect arrangement, a loving arrangement from Jehovah. More often, the problem lies in how the humans in the arrangement discharge their responsibilities. But for a moment, consider 3 reasons why we can say that the headship arrangement is perfect, it is loving from Jehovah. The first reason is that Jehovah's wisdom is seen in the headship arrangement. I invite you to turn with me to the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 11, and let's read verse 3, where the headship arrangement is laid out. And let's look for that. How is wisdom shown in this arrangement? 1 Corinthians 11:3. It says, "But I want you to know that the head of every man is the Christ. In turn, the head of a woman is the man. In turn, the head of the Christ is God." So how is wisdom seen in this arrangement? Well, the Watchtower said that there are 2 key elements in the headship arrangement. And if you were to try to pick or choose what are those 2 key elements, what would you think? Maybe authority and submission? Well, that might seem logical, but that's not what the Watchtower said. It said the 2 key elements are authority and accountability. The Watchtower went on to say this: Jehovah has given Jesus authority over the congregation, but Jesus is accountable to Jehovah for the way he treats us. Jehovah has also given a husband authority over his wife and children, but a husband is accountable both to Jehovah and Jesus for the way he treats his family. End quote. So the wisdom is that there are checks and balances built into the arrangement itself. For example, the husband's authority over his family is not absolute. He cannot do whatever he wants or treat them however he wants just because he is the head. Rather, he is accountable to Jehovah and Jesus for the way that he treats his family. And for the spiritual man, that makes all the difference in the world, and that helps him to discharge his responsibilities in a proper way. So that's the first point. There is great wisdom in the headship arrangement itself. The second point is that the headship arrangement provides clear, dignified roles for each member of the family.
Okay, so what was the first point of the headship arrangement? It was clear and dignified anyways. You notice, here's what I noticed. When Jeffrey, I gotta get on here a little bigger. That's all we can do on this one. With this one, okay. With Jeffrey talking, do you notice that it changed when Trump was on the screen looking at him? Do you know? It changed his speech. All these speeches are subject to the audience. A speech like this is subject to the audience. You throw Trump in the audience, it changes the speech. It makes you think that Trump has more authority than these guys. He has way more followers. We know that. But it's weird. It changes how you look at things. I'm going to ask my good wife what she thinks. Do you think that?
I'm still trying to swallow that load that Windbag there was trying to share. Like, I never even heard of the headship arrangement until we started down this venture. It's, I'm a feminist, I guess, you know, it's just true. It's the way it is. So this old-fashioned thinky submit and obey stuff, it ticks me off.
I'll just leave them equal. Okay. Yeah, I knew it was going to tick her off even before we watched it. So we get to this part and it just ticked her off. What is it? I don't know. Explain to the audience how it makes you feel. Let's just run this by. What did he say here?
Well, the Watchtower said that there are two key elements in the headship arrangement. And if you were to try to pick or choose what are those two key elements, what would you think? Maybe authority and submission? Well, that might seem logical, but that's not what the Watchtower said. It said the two key elements are authority and accountability. The Watchtower went on to say this: Jehovah has given Jesus authority over the congregation, but Jesus is accountable to Jehovah for the way he treats us. Jehovah has also given a husband authority over his wife and children, but a husband is accountable both to Jehovah and Jesus for the way he treats his family. End quote. So the wisdom is that there are checks and balances built into the arrangement itself. For example,
Okay, so how does that make you feel? The authority thing. They split it up. Jehovah is the boss. Then Jehovah gives Jesus some authority. And Jesus gives the husbands, the head of the house, the authority. And then the husband might separate, give the kids some authority, give the wife some authority. Ultimately, it rests on the husband. And so he's going to get into accountability next. But how does this make you feel as a woman?
Oh, it's kind of standard fare, right? But like, I'd like to know, what do single parents do? Like, I was a single mother, so who ran my household? should I have got the neighbor man to come over and make sure that things were okay there? Or, I mean, come on. It's just very old fashioned, simple, simplistic thinking.
I agree with you. But how does it make you feel that this religion, okay, well, you were never in the religion, right? You're an outsider kind of a thing, I guess we say, worldly.
Hmm.
How did it make you feel? How does a worldly person feel when they look at a religion? What do we call this? There's a word for it. Misogyny? Is
Misogynist.
that what
Yeah,
it
it's
is?
very misogynistic. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a misogynistic religion. Why are other religions? This is a question I would have. Why are other religions? Why do they have women that are like elders and stuff like that? But why is this religion really bound on this headship arrangement? Now we know it's in the scriptures. That's interesting. That's we're gonna have a discussion about that. But what do you think, Sherry? Yes. Here's what Sherry said. She said yes to something. Misogynistic. That's what she said yes to,
Mm.
probably. Wild World said, I'm a
Wild
real man in
wall.
my house. Wild Wall says, I'm a real man in my house. I always get the last word in, and it usually is yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he knows how it works, eh?
Yeah.
He knows how things work. That's exactly it. Sherry said David Weiber is God a misogynist.
I think it's a book.
Uh, I think he's twisting scriptures. I don't know who that guy is. Okay, let's go down. Lisa says I used to send the elders around to encourage me. Now, Lisa, if you had what if just the elders' wives came around to encourage you? Like a bunch of elders, what do they know? Like they don't. You're a woman, right? Why wouldn't they send the elders' wives over to do that? Or, I don't know. That's just questions I have. Anybody could go over and encourage anybody, really. But yeah, it is normally elders that run around and do that, like there's something special. Okay,
And
well, let's carry on in this talk and let's see what his second point is. Are you ready to roll? Any other questions?
nope, roll it.
We'll roll it.
Well, the husband's authority over his family is not absolute. He cannot do whatever he wants or treat them however the
Okay,
headship arrangement provides for the family. For example, the wife in the family has a clear, dignified role in the family arrangement. She has a place that is hers, and she has full scriptural freedom to operate within that role. And as husbands, don't.
okay. What role and what place is hers? This is what we stopped here and I was wondering, in today's world, what place is the wife's? What is their place? And what is her role? And what is the husband's role? You see, I don't agree with this. And I'm going to actually back it up with scriptures here in a bit with my research. But I knew, this always didn't sit right with me, this piece of the Bible. This is one of the pieces. But now I know why. You do a little research, you know why. Yeah.
And and all of this is just to set you up for further obedience training, because not only do you have your role or your place, but you're expected to perform in that role or place properly. Like, this is just so cringy to me, the amount of snooping and reporting, or the amount of authority that these men demand, and by proxy the elders demand and get. Like, that's, like I said, I was just raised in a different world, and if I had anybody ever asking me what was going on in my bedroom, I'd be telling him to stuff it, you pervert. Like, this just really irritates me.
Okay, so what about you guys out in the audience? Any comments? Throw in the comments for those that are watching. And if you have script, like there's some comments there. Where was it? God told Abraham to listen to Sarah. So there's some comments there. Okay. So that's what the Bible says. And we're using the Bible today. It's about a Bible discussion. So yeah, there is, if we read the Bible does lay out this arrangement somewhat. Now, the Jesus thing that he says with Jehovah, I don't buy that. I don't buy that Jehovah tells Jesus what to do. In fact, maybe not, tonight's not the night, but I've ran different videos if you follow my channel. And we talked about, we're going to do it again here on this channel, open it up to the audience for discussion. We're going to look at Deuteronomy 32 and verse 8, where it says that the Most High divided out the inheritance among 70 sons. So we're going to look at that. I did some more research on it, and it's all over the internet now. It's almost like there's a little bit of an awakening where people are looking at the Bible and saying, hey, wait a minute, Yahweh is the God of Israel. And I know maybe some online, Sherry maybe might not agree with that. I don't know, but this is just the research, and this is just part of the waking up process. Some of us are going to go that way. Some of us are going to say, nah, no, I don't think so. And I talk to different ones, and they say, yeah, no, Yahweh's over everything. But we're going to talk about that. Not tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about the Apostle Paul. And I learned something in the last day on the Apostle Paul. I actually have a little bit more, I like him a little better now after what I learned. He was more, he actually, in Paul's ministry, he had women deacons. And when we do the research, we research a little further, and I'm wondering, well, how did this happen? And why are these scriptures saying that there's all this big hierarchy? Well, did you know that some of these scriptures got introduced and they got put under Paul, like Timothy, in some of these scriptures? And that all got done 200 years later. If we follow the history of the Bible, how the Bible got pieced together, it got glued together. So here we have Jesus. Jesus lived out his life. Yeshua, Sherry's online. That's what they like to call him. We're going to use Jesus because it's our intent. I'm going to say Jesus. I'm not going to change my whole lingo, but it's our intent, right? You know, our intention is to talk to the God of the universe. My intent was not to talk to the God of the Israelites. My intent was to talk to the God of the universe, Jesus Father. We're going to talk about that. And I have done some more research on that. There's definitely two trains of thoughts out there. There's the old traditional thought, but there's a new one that's, there's a new thought, well, more thinking. And then these are not new thoughts. These thoughts have been around since the beginning of time. But what happened is Paul came at about 60 CE, Common Era. Jesus was around, 33 CE when he died. 30 years later, the Apostle Paul has he's Saul. Like, he's a Pharisee, right? Killing Christians, Saul. Killing Christians left and right, working for the Romans, the Pharisees. He's a Judah, or a Jew, I guess. What do they call it? He's a Pharisee. He's a leader. He's a rabbi. That's what I was looking for, the word rabbi. Paul was rabbinical, but he was also somehow mixed up with the politics too. There's a whole story on him. We watched it on Prime, and it was a show called The Invention of Jesus on Prime. If you watch, it's a good show to watch. It really pieced together how the Bible was put together. You don't lose faith watching some of these shows. You shouldn't. If you're waking up, you're just looking at this, trying to understand the theology behind it. And if you can understand a bit of theology, and I think that's important for all of us, is to look at how this all came together. And then we can understand the people, the Bible books when we read them. We don't have to take everything for verbatim. We can apply what we can glean out of it, what's going to work good for us. And in the research, Paul and Jesus, they were all about oneness. When it comes to a marriage couple, they're about oneness, equality. And then there's a scripture in Galatians that says There's neither freeman, nor slave, nor man, nor woman. They're all equal in the eyes of God. Equal. You see, and then we jump over to these scriptures, and there's this whole hierarchy. It's a whole stepping stone. Well, it's Jehovah, it's Jesus, it's the head, it's this, it's this. There was an issue in Corinth, and when they went in, well, there was women deacons. Paul had women deacons. That's all through the scriptures. That opened my eyes a bit. Paul was open to women teachers. Very open. So was Jesus. In fact, the women appeared to Jesus first after he died. The women were all around him. The women supported his ministry. It's all in the research. It opens your eyes. Jesus was not about the hierarchy. Neither was Paul. Paul died. Paul was around 30 years after Jesus. It sounds like Paul was trying to really emulate Jesus and just bring the word out to the Gentiles from the research I just did. I kind of thought, well, here's this guy, never been married, blah, 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 has so much to say about women. But I was looking at Paul maybe wrongly, and I'm willing to admit that in this channel. I'm just figuring this out, just like you guys. And so here we have Paul, who was actually for women teaching. Women have a big role. There's a lot of women out there teaching throughout all the ministry, all over the world. Lots of women taking a lead, doing a great job. And other religions see this. They read the scriptures this way. So we can read that, glean that out of the scriptures. What happened 200 years later, right around 300 CE to 280 CE? They started stitching the Bible together. And why? Well, you watch the invention of Jesus. It's not saying Jesus was invented. History attests to him being real. Muslims even, like all over the world, no one denies that this wasn't a real person, got crucified and things like that. There is a question, to him walking on water, some of these miracles, because they say the historians would have wrote about it more if some real miracles like that did happen. So we're going to talk about that on this channel, probably not tonight, but we are going to talk about story writing and how story writing can go from what a person sees through a person's mind and then onto paper. And it's quite a process. We'll talk about that one night regarding the Bible. Maybe not tonight. But tonight we're going to talk a little bit more about Paul. But I'm just giving you a little history. You have open ears. So what they did 200 years later, the Romans they had all these Christians forming, and they had to make one nation. They had to make one religion. And so they did. That's when they introduced some new ideas. These books got inserted underneath Paul because they couldn't find any earlier writings of them. They got just stuck in there underneath Paul's books. They called it Paul's books, but you see, it was a higher authority close for the Romans. And you need a close. Your higher authority close is God, Jesus. Jesus was the big one for them, for the Romans. Jehovah's Witnesses, Jehovah is their higher authority close. That's who they're going to close you with, Jehovah. I think Jehovah, for me, isn't doing it anymore. I'm looking more and more into the scriptures, realizing that Jehovah was kind of mean to people, did a lot of killing. They say God is supposed to be a God of love, right? And I don't know. When I think of love, you tell me as an audience. When you think of Jehovah, how has Jehovah demonstrated to you love? Tell me, where's the love? He's done some things. There's some miracles. The manna, is that love? I don't know. He was leading the people, right? Don't know. I know they complained a bit. The people complained. He didn't like that. He'd open the ground up, swallow them up. They were worshiping the golden calf. Baal is just another one of those brothers and sisters of the 70. That's really what that was about. Jehovah was jealous, a jealous God. Have you ever lived with someone that's jealous? Have you ever been in the congregation and you've seen jealousy destroy an elder body? I have. Then they have to change all the territories and mix everything up and try it over again with different elders and different groups. Jealousy is huge. Destroys marriages. Jealousy causes wars. So when I look at the Bible, God was jealous. God was jealous. He was a jealous God. Right at the beginning, Cain and Abel, Jehovah shone his light down on the meat producer, the guy that produced sheep, because Jehovah liked the burning and the incense and the fat. That's how I see it. I didn't see it when I was a Jehovah's Witness that way. I thought Cain and Abel, Cain was the bad guy. Cain's the killer because he grew vegetables, and he said, here's mine. I got Jehovah didn't shine his light down on Cain. He shone it down on Abel, his brother, who had the sheep. And he grew jealous. He grew hot with anger, and he killed his brother. Jealous causes a lot of problems in families. It can be a killer. And I've seen it firsthand. Now, we're going to go back to this Jeffrey Winder. Now you got a little bit of history on Paul. These scriptures that these guys are flinging got slung into the Bible about 280 CE, 200. So that's 200 years after Paul. 200 years later, Paul died. 200 years later, the Romans threw in some scriptures underneath his books and said, that's Paul. They needed a higher authority clause on it. And so they just wrote stories around Paul. It's easy to do that. These books aren't that big. And they needed some rules. They needed obedience to the government. So Romans 13, verse 1, you have to be obedient to government and authorities. Well, Jesus was actually a bit of a rebel. He grew up as a Hebrew, as a Jew, just like us growing up as Jehovah's Witnesses. Once you grow up as a Jehovah's Witness for the rest of your life, you will be known as a JW. X, they won't throw the X in. We throw the X in, but everyone, all of my worldly family, think of me, that JW guy. I'm still in it, kind of. I'm activism, but to them, it's the same thing. It's just flip-flop. It's all the same pile of stuff. To most people, you see, Jehovah's Witnesses are a very small part of the world. We're not a big part of the world. That's why we have these community things online here. It's a small community, really. And we're growing. We will be growing bigger. Now, Sherry said Ike's. We'll have Sherry come on and straighten us up. But again, don't be afraid because someone... You see, I can't be afraid because Sherry views it this way that I have to view it that way. You see, that's not what it's about. We're not in a cult. This has to be clear to me, to everyone. This should be clear to everyone. You see, if I ask a Christian, well, who's going to get saved? Well, the Christians are going to say it's the ones that believe in Jesus, right? I don't believe that. I don't believe that one bit. And I can show you from the Bible in 2 or 3 scriptures. Because it says that everyone who loves their neighbor. That's it. That's the only criteria. People say, well, you got to get baptized. You got to do this. You got to do that. All these rules. There's no rules. Jesus says there's 2 things you got to do. Love God, love your neighbor. That's it. And he grew up. He's always known as a Hebrew or a Jew, right? Jesus grew up as a rabbi. He was a rabbi. So some people say, oh, no, he was a rabbi. I don't believe it. Because he didn't burn sacrifices. You see, all those rabbis and Jews, they did all those 702 laws. That's what they did. Well, Jesus did love. Love covers it all. What did he think of sacrificing? He went into the temple when he was of age or could, tipped over the money table and said, this is just all garbage. I don't know. I still see Jesus as a bit of a rebel. He was a rabbi. I was a Jehovah's Witness 30 years. I was a pioneer. Well, not the whole 30 years, but I was a Jehovah's Witness. I wasn't an elder or anything important, but I was a Jehovah's Witness all those years. Now I'm turning over the money tables, but I'm still told by my worldly family that I'm a JW. They still classify me as a JW, but I'm a rebellious one, I guess, because I'm not following the Watchtower. So Jesus, what was he? He wasn't following the religion of his day. In fact, he told the scribes and the Pharisees in John 8:44, you're from your father, the devil. That's what he told them. That's pretty sharp words. Well, let's look at Paul. Let's look at Winder. Let's see what Winder has to say. And remember, folks, when I looked at this broadcast, this 10-minute broadcast, it told me that perhaps Jehovah's Witnesses are having some trouble in their congregations with this new formula they have on dress. Maybe the sisters they're not dressing quite right. They're not listening to their husbands. Now these guys, they put out, you can wear beards. You don't have to wear ties. You don't have to wear suit jackets. The women can wear slacks, all kinds of new rules, right? They just swung them out there in one talk. Then they've done about 2 or 3 talks later. It seems like they're doing damage control. I think this is just more damage control, trying to get the arrangement down. The sisters are saying to their husbands, elders, maybe elders' wives are saying to their elders' husbands, well, they said we can wear slacks. They didn't say there was any rule.
So perhaps the women are getting too much pants power and now they have to be knocked down a peg or two. I don't know. Don't forget, you can wear pants, but make sure you bring your kerchief to put that on your head.
Okay, I agree. Let's listen to a bit more of this. Should we speed it up, or is it okay? It's only 10 minutes, 5 minutes left.
Don't we appreciate what our spiritual wives contribute to the family operating within her God-given assignment? How many times has the spiritual input of our wives helped us to avoid making a mistake, or helped us to see a matter from an angle that we would never have thought of on our own? How many times has the spiritual input of our wives helped us to make a better decision, or to see the need to do something loving for someone in need? She's operating within her role, but what a significant impact she has on the joy, on the success, on the reputation of our family. So that's the second point. The headship arrangement provides clear, dignified roles for each member of the family. The third point is that the very foundation of the arrangement is love. For example, turn with me, please, to the book of Ephesians, chapter 5. And notice verse 25, how clearly Jehovah communicates to husbands how they are to carry out their assignment, their role in the headship arrangement. Ephesians 5:25, it says, husbands, continue loving your wives, just as the Christ also loved the congregation and gave himself up for it. So the headship arrangement clearly is not just a cold, efficient organizational chart. It is to be administered in love. Love should be the centerpiece of the arrangement. Love should never leave the arrangement. As the verse says, continue loving your wives. Also, in verse 25, Jehovah makes it clear that husbands have the Christ to look to as an example in the way he treated the congregation. And essentially, Jehovah says, look at the Christ, you husbands. That is how you are to love your wives always.
Okay, can I talk? Sounds like Jeffrey's joining Fixing My Faith. Love. I'm not going to disagree with that. He's given some good advice. Some of the research I looked at talked about the two will become one. And the love, there are no rules. The two are one. We're one unit, husband and wife. And but then when you go back and you look, okay, well, what if this happens? There isn't what if you go through a divorce today. Maybe back then they needed the rules, and they did in the congregation of Corinth. did some deep reading on that, and there were some issues in Corinth, lots of issues. We all know that. Even Watchtower has they were a town of money, wealth, so there's a lot of issues. So Paul went in, or someone went in and said, look, we've got to straighten up the town. And so that's where that talk was given. So folks, it's good to understand the history behind all of this stuff, but marriage is about oneness. That's how I see it.
Well, some may feel oppressed by the headship arrangement, but as we've discussed, it's not the arrangement that's at fault. It is a perfect, loving arrangement. It reflects Jehovah's wisdom. It provides clear, dignified roles for each member, and it is to be administered in love.
You
Go
caught
ahead.
that, right? It's not the arrangement that's at fault.
Yeah, I did
S-
catch that. What do you think
yeah,
he
so
meant?
if it's a perfect arrangement, then the fault is with the people that have issue with this perfect arrangement. Like it's just this guy is just his words are so loaded. Like I feel like a kid being lured by candy. This like he just talked about love. If I can go back one sec, I agreed with a lot of the stuff he said too, but I disagree. It should have been the first thing that they mentioned because it seems to
I
me
agree.
if you're in a relationship with somebody that you truly love, from that love, you'll be able to understand them more. You'll be more patient. You are willing to potentially go places like emotionally with them that you would if that love was not there. Not because you're dictated to because of some spiritual arrangement that these buffoons have figured out for you. Like it's the 90% good stuff with the 10% of poison. Like these guys are just master manipulators. That's what I see here. Gaslighting. I see Joe and Fran have piped up. Exactly. So, no, yeah, perfect. Yeah, just like what shunning is a loving provision. These guys are just deadly with their love. It's just unbelievable. Okay, that's all I had to say. Thanks.
I like this comment. My wife manages our household. I just bring her my paycheck. And that's the way it is. When's the last time I don't even know if I have a banking card. I never look at the bank. I don't even know what our bank is at. I don't even want to know. It just works every month because I got a good wife. Yeah, I think most of us would be lost if we have good partners. We'd be lost.
Hey,
It's a
Vern,
tough thing. Go ahead.
before we go any further, make sure you say hi to Keith tonight. You missed him the other
Oh,
day.
Keith, how you doing there, buddy? Hey, I seen you on the chat. Where did I see Keith today? Today, seen Keith today on we're
Yeah,
on
w-
some live chat.
we were laughing at
We
something
run
that
into
you
each
said.
other all
So
over the place. You'll have to come on the show, Keith. We're gonna open this up here in a bit. We'll throw out a thing and come on and say hi.
okay,
Okay, so should we move on with this guy a little bit
yeah, I'm
more?
running out of wine.
He's doing the
So
loving
I've got.
part. This is a good part.
Mm-hmm.
So then, to make sure no one does feel oppressed in this arrangement, where does the responsibility lie? Well, it lies with those of us in the arrangement, doesn't it? And on that point, Ephesians chapter 4, in verse 16, provides us some very good direction. Ephesians 4:16. Of course, this is specifically talking about the body of the congregation, but we can extract the principle and apply it to the family unit as well. So here's what it says, Ephesians 4:16. From him, all the body is harmoniously joined together and made to cooperate through every joint that gives what is needed. When each respective member functions properly, this contributes to the growth of the body as it builds itself up in love. What that verse says is certainly true about the human body, isn't it? When every member of our body operates and functions properly, we get things done smoothly. But have you ever had an injury? For example, have you ever had your arm and hand in a cast? Now, trying to tie your shoes with one hand or button your
Too
shirt with one
fast?
hand or type on the computer becomes very awkward. But when each member functions properly, now we don't even think about it. We can get things done. It's very smooth. And so it is in the family arrangement as well. When each member does their assigned role, as the verse says, functions properly, then that contributes to the growth of the arrangement. And of course,
Okay,
What I want is go ahead. You go ahead.
that was 4 or 5 properlies in that last few minutes. I hope everybody got that. Function properly, properly, properly.
Yes. Okay. Sometimes as a JW, XJW, even we miss that because we're used to hearing it so much that we think we're supposed to hear it. So if you're looking for those signs, you know that they have some issues because their congregations, there's some stuff not functioning properly, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying the indoctrination is just rampant in all of their stuff. It's, mm, yeah.
Here's a good thought, Jay. Archives got to say women are the brains, as a married man thinks. I think Watchtower would be scared to have women in high positions because they know they will knock it out of the park. Well, women wouldn't put up with all this cover-ups of CSA. You get any women in that organization, they're going to shut down all this CSA and pay out the victims because women, that's what women do.
Okay, so Vern and I were talking earlier today about Adam and Eve, and I just threw this out there. You know, my supposition is God created man. Please bear with me, men. He had to do it again because practice makes perfect. And then we ended up with women. And then men very quickly realized what perfection women are. So immediately began the campaign of putting women in their place. And that's what the Bible does repeatedly. That's what societies have done repeatedly. And so I don't disagree with what Jay Archive says there. There's a lot of potential that was never ever seen because of the rules from the Bible and from these organizations and all of it. Everything run by men. Sorry.
Okay. So, do we have anybody else out there that wants to talk about this video? I don't know if do we have to play any more of it? Should we finish it off?
Well, yeah, let's just get
This is
through
the
it. It's
challenge,
10
Timothy.
minutes. We can do this.
Because all of us are imperfect. So none of us are naturally good husbands. None of us are naturally good wives. We have to make adjustments in our personality and our way of doing things so that we function properly and contribute to the growth of the family. And we do, don't we? We work hard to do that. For example, if a husband finds that his natural tendency is to be a bit strong in his headship, maybe even domineering, or on the other hand, maybe it's the other way. Maybe a husband finds that his natural tendency is to shy away from taking the lead or making decisions. Well, in either case, that husband will look to God's word, examine what he can do, make adjustments so as to function properly in the headship arrangement and contribute to the growth of the family. Similarly with the wife, if she finds that her natural tendency is to be a bit strong, maybe a little bit talks over her husband or wants to correct his decisions, or on the other hand, maybe she finds that she could be contributing a bit more to the family in a spiritual way. Well, she'll do the same thing. She'll examine God's word, see what adjustments she can make, function properly, and then contribute to the growth of the family. In these ways, each.
Okay, let's stop it there. Do you know what? Did you catch that? We would examine God's word. That's not what he's saying there, folks. Friends, he's saying you would examine the Watchtower material. So if you're having trouble in a marriage, they will come over. In my day, it was Bond Volumes. Today, it's Watchtower Work. You're going to go on there. You're going to start looking at all the videos on family and start taking some brainwashing lessons. They're not going to send anybody to family counseling. Remember, we've been covering the Elders book. And on Mondays, and in the Elders book, they do not send anybody to family counseling. They just determine if you have an issue. And if you have an issue, they automatically assume it's because you're number one, you're not praying. Number two, you're not going out in service. And number three, you're not going to the meetings. That's why you're depressed. You see, when it might have nothing to do with that, it could be chemical, it could be something else. They do say go and see your doctor. You know, I know there's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses that take antidepressants, but mostly they try to get you out in the service, studying and stuff like that. And that's maybe not be what you need. Maybe what you need is to go out and play baseball or something with the congregation. They used to do that sometimes, years and years ago. I don't know if there's any more, if they do that. Do the congregations get together and play baseball, soccer, things like that, football? We used to do football. That used to pull people together. And that was back in the olden days, back in the 80s, a lot of years ago. So you guys out there, what do they do today? How do they build families up? Study, look at tablets, watch JW.org movies. Is that how you're going to build a family up? Open that up to comments. What do you think, good wife?
No, I don't think it's really going to contribute anything positive here.
No. Okay, well, we're right at the tail end. Let's just hear them out.
Each member of the arrangement functions properly to the success of the headship arrangement in the family. So yes, the headship arrangement is a good arrangement. It is perfect. It is from Jehovah. And as each one of us works hard to fulfill our role in the arrangement, we will see the success of the arrangement grow, and we will thank Jehovah for his loving oversight of our family.
Okay, so that's done. So now, any questions? Because of love, right?
It was this video. It was this video here, right, where he started off talking, and he was quoting something, and I actually thought it was scripture, but it was the watchtower, right? That was this video here. I can't believe how much these guys flip back and forth, and if you're not paying attention, that watchtower coming across like the word of God. I don't. Again, master manipulators. You are looking at marketing 101. These guys have got this stuff figured out, people. Yeah.
Rational Mensch says an aggravation I have about these 9G beers is that they offer all of this marital advice, yet I know nothing about their family, their wives, or their children. They're all veiled men, and they are. These guys really hide. I think they hide for a number of reasons. Okay, who else do we have here? That's a good point there. All women who wants to be a wife. I know a lot of times my wife goes out, does the chores. I'll do the dishes. There's nothing wrong with that. Swapping, and it's not roles. Like, we don't even look at in our marriage that we have roles. That the housework is for the woman. It should never be like that. But I think it was. I think back in the day that I grew up, I didn't see my dad vacuum much, but he was a really hard worker outside of the house.
Exactly. Your dad was working out in the fields,
Yeah.
Meanwhile, your mom was inside taking care of all that business. They worked as a team.
Yeah.
This
And my mom drove the grain truck and did things like that too.
Yeah, you pitch in where you can. A good team is made up of you and your strengths, and where you're weak, you have other people standing across from you that are strong.
There, Joe's just like me. I do the vacuuming, the floors, toilets. I'm the janitor in the house. I don't mind that. And my wife is the head cook. Now, my mom and dad, they actually, as a team, they went out and cooked in the oil field professionally. And there was a period of time that we did that. I was maybe 14 at the time. I stayed with my aunt and my cousins. They were just down the road. So I stayed there, and my other brothers, they went with different families just for a bit while my mom and dad did this. Through one winter, we were financially strapped. So they went out as a team professionally cooking. My mom was a professional cook. Her mother joined them later because they were all really good cooks, farm cooks. They could cook anything. My mom didn't need a recipe. She just had it all in her head. It was all by feel. A really good cook, it's by feel, taste. And she'd make some of the most amazing stuff, my mom. But anyways, they went out on the road in these camps, rig camps. It'd be like any of these camps, forestry camps, where they bring crews in and they set up these camps. Well, they go in and it was catered, of course, by certain companies, and they worked for the catering company. And they went in and they were the cook, and the cook always had a cook's helper. Well, guess what? My dad was the cook's helper. My mom was the head cook, and no one got in her way in the kitchen, boy. She ran the kitchen. And but my dad would do all the dishes. He'd clean the floors. He'd clean the toilets. He'd mop the floors. He did all the custodian work, my dad. And there's no shame in that. So sometimes the woman takes the lead. Now, When you go out to the shop and we're overhauling a motor, my mom's the helper. My dad is the head mechanic. So you see, folks, it's just whatever. Now, this is interesting. My good wife, and she'll testify to this, I came into our marriage knowing all about security systems and stuff. And a little bit into it, I realized, holy smoke, she's really good at IT, way better than I am. So I started bringing her to my job sites, and they went way smoother. She had a way better approach with the people. It was a lot of pressure. As I left my company, I was just on my own. Didn't really have helpers, so I had to do it all. And having two people on the job site really makes a difference. So she took control of the IT. She started dealing with all the people stuff. Took the load off me. All I had to deal with was the technical stuff, make it work. And that's usually not bad. The people stuff is the hard part. So go ahead. It's all about working as one. We don't even look at it as head of the house. Don't even mention that. That's like a swear word. When two people are working as one, there's no head. We're all working together. We all have a very important opinion. It's 50-50. And when you go through a divorce, guess what? It's 50-50. So through a marriage, it's 50-50. If the wife says, I don't agree with that, and the husband says, I want to do it, you see in the Jehovah's Witness world, husband wants to get a new car, wife says, no, I don't think we have the budget for it. Jehovah's Witness world, man's the head of the house. He looks at the wife, says, well, we need it for service. I'm an elder. We need a new minivan. The old one's miled out. And the wife says, well, let's go and buy a secondhand one at least, And no, we got to give Jehovah our best of our best first fruits. And the wife says, well, you drive that off the lot and you lose $4,000 or $5,000 just by driving it off the lot. And the husband says, well, with Jehovah, I need the on-site road service. So if I'm out in the ministry and something goes wrong, I've got my first fruits to Jehovah. You see, the man's going to win in a Jehovah's Witness household. But you see, you get outside of the Jehovah's Witness household, and if the woman says, and the man says, I want that new car, and the woman says, no, I don't want it because I don't want to pay payments. I don't want to have a mortgage. Guess what? You don't get it, men. You don't get it because 50-50, you don't have 51 votes, man. It's 50. You only have half. You can't stick your kid in there and say, hey, kids, what do you think? You see, you can't do that. That's not fair. That's against the rules.
You could try.
You're going to get caught. You get the kids working against on situations like that, and you're in trouble. So it's very simple. If you both agree on something, it's like it should happen. It's inspired. We should get it, You got $1 million in the bank, and you're driving by. Let's get that new car, and the wife says, "Nah, let's go get that used one and donate the rest to animals. The animal shelters or something." You see, it doesn't matter if you have $1 million in the bank. You still have to agree on it. 50-50. No one has one more vote. No.
You
see,
Oh.
Go ahead.
You see Aposta Babe's comment there? There's no 50-50 amongst married couples within the org. Well, of course not,
there
Linda,
isn't.
because number one, it's like 33, 33, 33, isn't it? The Watchtower has a share of that marriage too.
Yeah. So there's no 50-50. If you're in the org, the husband has 51 votes. The wife has 49. He always wins. And the elders have 52 votes. The elders actually have a vote in your marriage, by the way. And who else has a vote in your marriage? The Watchtower Society, Pennsylvania, jw.org. You go on there, you look at the family book. They have a share in your marriage. You see, you're not the sole 50-50 shareholder. You got to give up shares to the elders, to the Watchtower, and to the 9 men in New York that control the elders book. So it all goes down the chain. There's a circuit overseer in there. He gets a few shares of your marriage. Everyone's involved in a JW marriage. It's not 50-50. And that's why they have to give talks like this. They have problems in their marriages.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know. Like I said, I was a single parent. Before I met you, I had been living on my own for, I don't know, quite a while. So I was very comfortable making decisions. I mean, I played hockey. I coached hockey for my son's team when they didn't have a coach. People looked at me funny, but I didn't care. I had a blast. Um, like it's just so just to hear these stories. I didn't do this because I wasn't allowed, because this religion said so. I just They said you can't play hockey because you're a girl, and I said show me in the rules, and it was a big fight with the parents on our team because they all came to bat for me and the league, and turns out we won, so it was great. And this was all before women's hockey even existed, so it was, it was okay. What's going on now?
no, that's just my thumbnail. I forgot to change it.
Oh, okay. I,
I was just I was just going off camera for a bit.
well, I just
There's
didn't
a
know
good
where we were going. Yeah.
there's a good question. Do Jehovah's Witnesses still believe in 1914 last days generation? We talked about that today. Good question, Kelly. Um, I don't think that I think they don't talk about it much. I don't think they want to talk about it. I don't. I can't see how they can believe in that. You see, I think once you're in, you just think, well, you start making excuses in your mind for all these false states. Here's my question that I have for any of the religions out there. Anybody making a date, anybody saying, well, yeah, the poles are going to shift in 20, 30, 35. That's what science says. Any of those things, throwing dates out like that, you know what that does? It makes the person throwing the date out feel superior, and it makes everyone else fearful.
And
They
it makes
become your new
people
god.
and it makes people money.
And money. Lots of views. Everyone wants to know when the end is. That's the biggest game that's been going on forever. Ever. Um, Watchtower, in the same verse, the faithful slave, in the same chapter, it says no one knows the time or the day. But yet, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we know that. We read these scriptures, but we accept that these guys were wrong time and time again. We accept it. But yet we read in the scriptures, no one knows the time or the day. Why are they making dates? Why are they predicting years or anything? Why making predictions?
And
We're
why
going to
is
live in
anybody even
turbulent times.
listening? Why is anybody even listening to them? Because does it not also say in that Bible book of characters that you shouldn't take away from the Bible, you shouldn't change the Bible? Oh, and also if somebody actually says that something's going to happen and it doesn't, there's your false prophet. Like, I could be wrong, but it's just,
Well, like Keith brought out there is they just say keep going out in service, keep putting in more time. They get everyone distracted. Now, I think the whole Jesus thing is going to get people distracted, throw them off. That's going to confuse them a bit because now Jesus is the guy. Before it was Jehovah. Is it Jesus? Is it Jehovah? Okay. Jehovah. See, that's why they're
I
giving
think,
this talk. It's Jehovah, Jesus, then the head of the house, then the woman. You see, your son, if your son gets baptized and you're a woman, mother, and he's a 13-year-old, well, they're baptizing these kids at what, 8, 9 years old? If you've got a 13-year-old kid in your house, and you know how they are, remember what it's like being 13, yeah, baptized 13-year-old son could really cause a woman a lot of damage
oh yeah.
if he
So
becomes a young narcissist.
we were talking about that today. So if I'm running my single parent female head JW household, do I now have to put a hanky on my head to pray when my son is baptized and defer to him as the head of the house?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Good questions. Who wants to come on and talk? Anybody want to come on and talk? We'll throw up a StreamYard link. Invite anybody up. Copy. I'll paste it right here. There you go. There's a StreamYard link.
I just did it.
Oh, you did it as well. I mean, you
Yeah.
can be me on your end. Okay.
I am you.
Yeah, Chronicles of Lucifer said you would need to cover your head as a if your 13-year-old son was baptized. Would you'd try to get your 13-year-old son to say the meal prayer, probably, right? You're just
Yeah, but a meal isn't
so
a thing. But if I have to take my dinner napkin from my lap, Vern, and put it on my head, forget it.
here's something interesting. I'll add this to the stage. Paul, the Apostle Paul and women. So the relationship between Paul, the Apostle, and women is an important element in the theological debate about Christianity and women, because Paul was the first writer to give ecclesiastical directives about the roles of women in the church. However, there are arguments that some of these writings are post-Pauline interpolations, after Paul, 200 years later. So the Gospels record that women were among Jesus' earliest followers. Women. There it is. It's all through the Gospels. So the women were among Jesus' earliest followers. Jewish women disciples, including Mary Magdalene, Joanna, and Susanna, had accompanied Jesus during his ministry and supported him out of their private means. This is what happened. This is the Jesus part of it, right? So although the details of these gospel stories may be questioned, in general, they reflect the prominent historical roles women played as disciples in Jesus' ministry. There were women disciples at the foot of the cross. Women were reported to be the first witnesses to the resurrection, and chief among them was Mary Magdalene. She was not only witness, but also called a messenger of the risen Christ. So the women, these rules came later, folks, that Jeffrey Winder recited. Paul, earlier there, women were the ones that helped start Christianity with Jesus. So from the beginning of the early Christian church, women were important members of the movement. As time went on, groups of Christians organized within homes of believers. Those who could offer their homes for meetings were considered important within the movement and assumed leadership roles. Such a woman was Lydia of Philippi, a wealthy dealer in purple cloth. And after hearing Paul preach, she and her household were baptized. The earliest Christian movement, mostly notably Paul's movement, was very attractive for wealthy women and widows. And they often opened up their houses for worship by particular religious movements. And according to Elizabeth Schulzer, in the first century, a woman's place was in the home and the otherwise private areas of life. And turning the private domestic setting into the public religious setting opened up opportunities for religious leadership. So Pauline Christianity did not honor its rich patron. Instead, it worked within a motive of reciprocity by offering leadership roles, dignities, and status in return for patronage. And through building up their own house church, women could experience relative authority, social status, and political power, and renewed dignity within the Paul's movement. So this concept is reflected in Paul's relationship with Phoebe, Chloe, and Rufus's mother. Okay, anybody else want to comment on that? What do you think of that? That kind of changes it a bit, doesn't it? So Kelly, we have Kelly on with us. Did I add Kelly to the stage? There you are.
Well,
Hello,
yeah,
Kelly.
So,
Hi,
and we
can you
also
hear
have
me?
Lucy coming on.
Yep. We
Yeah,
can hear you.
me?
We can hear you.
Oh, good. So just a question. I find the Jehovah's Witnesses or the Watchtower organization very, very fascinating. And I used to work with a colleague who was a Jehovah's Witness, or is a Jehovah's Witness, and
Mhm.
in conversation, he told me that even if Armageddon does not arrive, he will still remain as a Jehovah's Witness. Now, is this a very, like, to me, that seems to be very bizarre. Would that be common thought amongst Jehovah's Witnesses, or?
What's that? To
Well, what how he mentioned he would still remain as a Jehovah's Witness, even if Armageddon does not arrive or eventuate.
Okay.
so he'll remain as a Jehovah's Witness if Armageddon doesn't arrive.
Yes, yes. That's a very peculiar thought, and I was just wondering if that is common amongst other believers.
Most of these guys think the end's coming.
Yes,
Usually
yes,
any day now, but now they haven't said that lately. Any day now.
No.
They were saying it quite often. I don't know. I haven't seen it lately. Maybe they're trying to lay off the any day now and try to be more like everyone's just going to die and go to heaven. Maybe they're going to go to that route in a bit. Who knows?
yeah. No, it was just a very peculiar statement from this person, and I was just wondering if it was just him thinking that, or if it's something
know
that's
who's
going
talking.
around in the organization for him to think that.
Lucy, do you have any comments?
I can answer, Kelly, without a doubt that I was taught that no matter what happens, you still have to worship Jehovah. I don't,
Mm.
it's so weird hearing you explain it the way that you did, Kelly. I answered it in my head. Well, yes, of course. No matter, even if you didn't get to see Armageddon in your lifetime. I mean, that's exactly what happened to my grandmother, who was the first person in my family. So I was born in third generation, and they, once she passed, it became very clear to me, because she was one of the millions now living that was not supposed to die. But the baby boomer part of my family still, like, it seemed to like make them more faithful. So I don't understand it at all. I'm at a loss, just like you, Kelly.
Yeah, well, so that's the angle I'm thinking of. It's made him more assured of his faith, as it were. If I can explain like that, he's become more, I don't know, not radicalized, but like he wants to believe it more.
So is this recent where they
Yeah,
maybe
This,
more and more people are thinking this way?
no, I had a conversation with him on this topic last year, late last year. It was around October last year.
So he's thinking that if they're basically thinking, well, so what if Armageddon doesn't come? We'll just continue to be Jehovah's Witnesses.
Exactly. So I pick it up in two ways. One, either personally he loves the community he's in, which I don't have a problem with that. He loves being surrounded by those like-minded people, and but like, to me, the Jehovah's Witness thing is based around this 1914 generation. That's the whole basis of their faith. This is what I understand, and but to believe in I don't know all the teachings, but to me, it's a weird way of thinking. That was all.
And we have a lot of people, like Keith is saying here, there was a lot of good times in some of the Watchtower. It's a community. I remember when in the 80s, when I was younger, we used to play football on Sundays. Not a lot of us went out and service Sunday afternoon. We'd go to the meeting Sunday, and then we'd grab lunch, and then we'd meet I don't know, 1, 2 o'clock, play afternoon football, soccer, baseball, different things. Does this still go on? Joe, when you guys were in, does this still go on? Lucy? Ocean lovers. We have ocean lovers on. Do you want to give a comment? Just cut in whenever you want. I notice your mic is muted, but you can unmute it.
Hi, we're here, Vern.
Yes.
Hello. Hi, Vern. You were asking whether or not the activities, like the games, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. Do they do that still?
Well, I don't know if they still do that, but the last I remember is quite a while ago.
Mhm.
It wasn't frequent.
I don't remember. What
Well,
kind
when
of
we had
games?
baseball games.
Oh,
When
well,
we
before
get together.
I'm
COVID.
listening to what you guys are talking about. I just got here.
Yeah, before COVID.
Before COVID, for sure. But
Right.
even
Is that Kelly? Oh, ocean lover. Okay, go ahead,
Yeah.
ocean lover. Do you want to talk?
What are you guys talking about? I just got here.
Oh, we just ran through Jeffrey Winder's talk from the Watchtower about headship arrangement.
Oh,
And so we kind of went through the headship arrangement. We talked about that. And that's really the topic for tonight. So what do you guys think of the headship arrangement that the Watchtower talks about? How does it affect you? Was it a good thing, bad thing, okay? What's your thoughts? And if you don't have no thoughts, it's okay.
I never
Joe and Fran?
knew.
Oh, Fran, Joe and Fran, we don't have sound on you guys. How about San Diego Pimo? Do you have any comments? Do you want to comment?
Well, I couldn't speak 100% about the headship because I've never been married before, but I think there was another elder and his wife who had woken up, and they had given their interview about maybe 7 or 8 months ago on a different channel, and it was all about the same thing, like an equal partnership. And that's kind of where I stand to a certain degree, because if you look at it from like a military illustration, you have your captain and you have your first officer. Sometimes if the captain doesn't make the right decision, the first officer would often take over. And because they may have a more rational mind, or maybe they may have something, or maybe they may see something a little bit different, but either way, those discussions are discussed behind closed doors, almost like, or kind of like they put their knowledge together or their opinions together, and then they decide to come out on the bridge and like make the decisions as a form of unity between the two of them.
So that's what we see in the Bible or in the JW religion, is that headship arrangement. Anybody else want to comment on it? Joe and Fran, do you want to give her a shot? No sound. You still have no sound, Joe and Fran. We see your mouths moving, but no sound. So maybe just reboot your system. Who else wants to give a comment? Ocean lovers. Lucy, did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, I can comment. You had asked a question about like activities and like congregation activities. And I wanted to comment on that, and then I want to give you my comment on what I think of the headship arrangement or how it affected me. Just to paint a quick picture, I grew up in a very rural town in West Virginia. So probably 30 at best publishers in this small congregation. It was a need greater situation. My family was part of a group of a couple other families that had moved down to this area to pioneer together and waited out until until Armageddon came. And so my family hosted a lot of square dances and family, you know, picnics and stuff, but it was the culture that at that point in time in the 70s, right around 1975, when everyone in the organization was encouraged. Either it depends on where you were too. I've met some people who grew up in congregations who were encouraged to not have children and to wait until Armageddon. But I guess my parents were in a congregation that it was acceptable to have children, because I remember there being lots of children around.
Yeah.
And so it only works. That type of a lifestyle only works if you can maintain it. And when you choose to be part of an insulary community, um, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, where you're not, you tell your children to be afraid of their teachers, be afraid of policemen, be afraid of anyone who doesn't attend your church function. Um, you're poisoning your children against any type of social interaction or safe social interaction. And so for me, that's how the headship arrangement affected my life, was that I was taught to only listen to certain men, and those certain men were the ones who were at the Kingdom Hall. Whether they were good men or not was irrelevant. What was important to my parents was that they attended their church function.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, you get that's one of the areas that I think has to change, or is changing. It's changing in the org. And that's where all the CSA happened, because the pedophiles can work amongst the rules and get away with it. That's why. So who else wants to give a shot? We haven't heard from Apostle Babe. Did you want to talk, Linda? And John
Yeah.
Fran.
Hi. Okay, so I'm going to just give a comment on what that gentleman was asking about somebody he worked with that said to him, even if Armageddon doesn't come, I'm still going to be a Jehovah's Witness. Like, that's not even going to make me leave. So there's a few things I can think of at this moment that could have been going on. And one of the things about being a Jehovah's Witness is we were trained that we represent the organization. So we have to make sure the organization looks good, and we have to make sure we look good for the organization to look good. So there was a date in 1975 that many were expecting Armageddon to happen, and it was a lot to do with how we were taught. But after it didn't happen, you know, some people were just not okay with that, and some people were just wondering. And yes, quite a few people left. But then the organization decided to blame us, so they gaslit us, okay?
Yeah, they
and
gaslighted
told
everyone.
us that we were over enthusiastic, like it was your fault for buying into this. Whereas I'm going to tell you, I grew up like from my earliest memories, 1975, Armageddon was going to happen. There was an expectancy, and it was like a combination of different pieces. If you put them all together, it would equal Armageddon's going to happen. So that's how they taught us to have this expectancy. And so there's a guy named Leon Festinger, and he coined the word cognitive dissonance, which is meaning your brain is having two different opposite thought processes going on at the same time. And that's really uncomfortable. So if you believe one thing and at the same time you're believing something else, they don't coexist very well. They don't coexist very well at all. So let's say 1975 happens again on some other year, and Armageddon didn't happen. We believed it was going to happen. So there must have been something wrong. Whatever is the next thing that's going to get thrown out, we're going to grab onto that for life. And one of the first things that was thrown out after 1975 Armageddon didn't show up was this: we didn't know when Eve was created. So it might have something to do with the creation of Eve. So people just grabbed a hold of that. And it also has to do with how much we've invested in it. So we're little
Yeah.
representatives. We've got to make sure Jehovah looks good and we look good for Jehovah. Like we are like a lawyer that would show up at a court and speak on behalf of God. So that's kind of the thing, if that makes sense. He might have some doubt, but there's no way he will ever share that with you, because that would make Jehovah look bad. Okay? And as far as
Well, he's a pretty loyal follower, and like he's
Yeah.
a great guy, an awesome guy to be with. And
Absolutely.
it's like the one thing, like because I don't smoke, I don't drink, and like he thought I'd fit in with the Jehovah's Witnesses because of how my lifestyle. And but the one thing, like, he wouldn't hang out with me though. He didn't want
Right.
to associate with me with outside of work.
That's
And
correct.
yeah, which I thought was a shame.
It
And
is a shame because you sound like a pretty cool guy.
yeah,
It's really too bad.
yeah. Like we both were enthused about the same things, like gardens, for example. We both love gardens, and like he came over to my house once, and I went over to his house once, and that was it. And that, but back then I was discussing having biblical conversations with him, so I guess maybe that was why. And
That is why.
yeah, because
There
I
was,
told him
there was,
I got no Jehovah's Witness. I could see. To me, it's like the Watchtower organization paints this beautiful picture, and I love the concept of it, but to me, it's not truth. And that's so I can just distinguish between that.
right.
Okay, we're just gonna let Joe and Fran try their mics out here. Is your mic working, Joe?
Are we here?
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh.
You got the floor.
Oh, thank you. I was listening to everyone, and
So, did you want to chat for a bit with everyone? No, your mic's not working, eh? Your mic's not working. Okay. Go ahead then. I cut you off there, Kelly. Sorry about that, Kelly.
Yeah. No. Well, another question I'm interested in is, because I know time has gone by since 1914. Is the Watchtower organization growing? Are they still growing in number?
Their
They tell us
number
that they
has kind of. Hey,
Kind
but
of.
everyone else says the number's lower than they're advertising.
I was over at the regional convention, or just visiting yesterday. The auditorium holds about maybe 2,500 people. Their attendance was about 1,300 plus people, and only about 7 were baptized. And my observation of the 7 was 2 of them were probably not teenagers, 2 of them were probably just young teenagers, and 3 of them were adults. One of them looked like they were in their like early 20s. The other one, I think they may have been a couple, because they were the only 2 that were sitting together with each other. So who knows? They're probably in their maybe late 20s, maybe early 30s, give or take.
So was the hall pretty full?
No, actually, Saturday it was about maybe 2/3 full. Out of 2,000 or maybe 2,500 seats in the main auditorium, there was only about a little over 1,300. So Sundays, I mean, typically in a foreign language, specifically the Spanish, it gets filled up a lot quicker. But it didn't look like it was even 3/4 of the way full. So that's kind of unusual. And I remember in those and specifically in that language, the baptisms, you would have like about in the 70s, 80s, give or take, like being baptized. So that's like a pretty drastic. I mean, granted, the fact it's not at Qualcomm Stadium anymore, but that's still a pretty low number, considering the amount of seats that specific auditorium is able to hold.
I remember one of the last circuit assemblies I went to in BC, one person got baptized. one person, one girl was there all by herself getting baptized.
Wow.
Okay, go ahead, Joe. Try it again.
We're here again. And what I was saying that systematically the society was taking local control away from the congregation, and it was settling all the control in the branch or the society, or the governing body says. And it changed a lot as to what we did and the way we functioned. It made it less personal, less
family oriented, and less. It made it more military like and regimented, demanding. It just lost a lot of heart. Even the extent where they were having fewer gatherings because they couldn't figure out what would be a proper gathering and how many would have to supervise it, and it was rendering the congregation less and less able to function together and to stay unified and to have togetherness. And it put more pressure on the family, on the couples as well.
Mm-hmm.
This idea about headship. Is he being a proper head? Is she exercising proper submission? It was really taking the heart and soul out of relationships. And who was being depressed a lot, who was taking medications. It was really becoming sad, really, more than anything else.
Yeah.
That's what we were noticing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, at some point, the governing body starts showing their face on the big screen, and everything from that point on just became more and more corporate, more and more authoritative,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they were showing just how controlling they wanted to be. And honestly, I'm totally convinced that organization is not a religion. It's just a government organization designed to cultivate, to groom slaves for the government, whatever government there's going to be. I truly believe that. I do not believe it's a religion. They're just posing as a religion. Those guys can't even fake it very well. The governing body, really, they can't even fake it. And they're trying their best too. But they're just they're so transparent at this point.
I hate to say it, but I think Kenny Rogers is a better actor than the governing body.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
they're way out of their league. Way out of their league.
it is. It is snare in the rack.
I think it's fun.
Okay, I wanted to comment. There's been a few comments in the comments about how it has helped them get through life, being a Jehovah's Witness. So we don't want to forget that it does help religion, all these religions. Let's look at them all. But I gave the example at the beginning. My good wife, her son had a Mormon friend all the way through, but they weren't Mormons. They didn't have to go to the Mormon church. They didn't have to do anything special. They just had friends. They were just kids at school. People, you see, the Jehovah's Witness is not like that. Everything outside of that religion is from the devil. Right? So even though it might seem good inside there, if you need a blood transfusion, if you're in the hospital bed and you're ready to die, you have 2 HLCs breathing down your neck, pushing the doctors to kill you. They're not pushing to save you, they're pushing to kill you. So that's when this religion becomes dangerous. When you just decide that you grow up, okay, let's say you grow up in it, you do all the things, it's pretty good, it saved you from getting into drugs and going on the streets, and you got through life, and you get going, and you have a family, and then you decide, you know what, we're not gonna do this religion no more. We're gonna join a different church down the street. Maybe, something makes you want to change. You meet some neighbors. You can't walk away. As soon as you walk away, you are disassociated. Guess what? Disassociate is the same as being disfellowship. Disfellowship means, disassociation means that you are now shunned. Your human rights are broken. You can't even leave the damn religion. It's a cult. So as much as I want to say to everyone out there, if you're having fun in the JW religion, stay there. It could cost you your life. There's a warning.
You will lose.
And they do have a low divorce rate. They do. Muslims are the lowest. They're higher than Muslims. But why? Because of shunning. Shunning. Because of the whole shunning thing, it scares people into staying into a bad marriage. They stay into a bad marriage all those years because of the shunning. So no one breaks up. Husbands can be abusive to their wives, and they stay in it, and they put up with it. I've seen it. I have seen this in the 30 years I've been in there over and over again. All kinds of issues because of shunning. No one wants to leave. So yeah, you're forcing people into shackles and handcuffs. And yeah, on paper, it might look like their marriages seem to last. Baptists actually have the highest divorce rate. I don't know why.
Wow.
33%. But anyways, that's another discussion another time. Who else wants to comment? I talk too much. Kelly, Lucy, San Diego Pimo, Aposta Babe. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah. Okay. So Vern, you just mentioned you were in there for 30 years. What made you decide to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Why I walked away?
Yes.
I was regularly pioneering, working unassigned territories in the high Arctic, and they said you can't preach up there no more. I was having my family members, teenagers have problems. So my teenagers were growing up and experiencing life outside the boundaries of the Watchtower. And so the elders meet with me, strip me of my privileges, and say, you're not allowed to preach up north either. And I said, what? That's ridiculous. And they said, nope, that's our rules. And I said, what? That's ridiculous. They said, nope, that's our rules. So I said, okay, I'm going to go back up anyways because I got work up there. And so I hired more people to do the preaching. I didn't preach. But I ended up challenging them after I brought Bethel up. I actually flew them up. The service desk guys that do unassigned territory, him and his wife came up, young couple. Yeah. And they said, there's no reason why you can't preach. And I said, that's what I thought. And I said, why are they telling me I can't? And they said, well, a body of elders is really strong. You can't fight. We can't fight a body of elders here. The circuit overseer has to go in, and there's all kinds of stuff. And if you're having family troubles, there's rules. They said, yeah, there's all kinds of rules, but they said you can preach. No one can stop you from preaching. And they said he said you don't even have to sign the territory, just fly in and do it. So I came back. I flew back. I thought about all these things, and I went and met with the elders, and I decided I'm going to quit. Put my house up for sale, sold it, moved out to my worldly families. I wrote Bethel a 7-page letter, told them all the reasons why I quit. I said, I'm going to serve Jehovah on my own. I don't need to go to these congregations. Every one of them I had issues in. And they said, they sent out 2 elders and said, you can't do that. You can't actually do that. You cannot do that. You're not allowed to do that. It's not in our policy. We have the Ark. It's the only place you're going to get saved. You're committing suicide, Vern. You're going to kill yourself. That's what they said. So I actually kicked them out. I said, no man is going to tell me what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. At that point, I was fed up. And so I kicked them out, and I told them, put me on a do not call list. They didn't. They kept calling. They actually I eventually got married to my good wife. They were calling on her. They thought they were going to work through her. But we put gates up and no trespassing on, and then that all quit. And 8 years later, I actually believed it was a truth still, to a certain degree. And I walked around with cognitive dissonance, fits of anger, all kinds of issues in my head, not realizing it. And 8 years later, I met an elder in a grocery store, gave him a Bible study. And then after that, they actually wrote letters even to communities up north and told them to disassociate. They wrote a letter to an Indian chief and told them to disassociate themselves from me. I still think they legally violated a lot of stuff doing that. And I challenged them on that. And then they give me a cease and desist letter. So that's the end of it when they do that, right? It's a legal thing, right? All over nothing, just because you can't walk away.
No, but it's interesting to hear that it took you 8 years to overcome, your personal opinions and thoughts and understandings with the Watchtower belief system.
Mm-hmm. It's an organization that you can't walk out of without getting shunned or disassociated or blamed or discriminated. In my case, they demonized me. They said I was demonized. So it's bad. Did we lose you, Kelly? No.
No,
you're still
no.
But yeah, it's we all have a little bit of a story like that, I think, and that's why we're on these channels. And then after that, that was through the virus. I started waking up, writing a book, writing all my thoughts down and stuff, like everyone else does that. It's just part of the whole process. What's that, my good wife? Just let them talk. But anyways, you guys hear enough about me. Who else wants to talk? Anybody else?
All right, can I talk?
Yeah, you go ahead. I'm gonna actually go off the stage. Who's high? Lucy?
It's me.
Ocean?
Ocean lover.
Okay, let's have you give a talk. Go ahead. Give her.
No, it's me. Ocean lover.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just gonna talk to Fran and Joe. And 30 years ago, when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, before I got disfellowshipped again for the third time. Oh, I can hear an echo really bad. It's really, I don't know how to get rid of it. Anyway, I just wanted to say that, yeah, the people in the congregation used to be so friendly. We used to get together all the time, weekly. We'd have great big congregation get-togethers, and we were all one big happy family, and everybody was so close. I was at somebody's house every single weekend and staying overnight, and or somebody would be staying at my house or whatever. And then everybody got, I don't know, they had some kind of crackdown on bigger gatherings.
Yeah, I recall that. Hello. Again. Hi.
Yeah. Do you guys remember that then, Fran?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yes, I do recall that. There was this, there's all of a sudden there was this talk about the size of the gatherings and, having it chaperoned and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so many things changed at that point. It was becoming less and less humane, less and less friendly. You could see it. You could feel it.
Well, at that point, it seemed like it became, like you said, corporate and
Oh yeah.
less of a congregation and more of a corporation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I at that point you could tell that the elders were were chasing after the organization as if they had more things to have to prove to the organization, and really less of a focus on their concern for the congregation. It was clear. It was clear that they were being groomed for a more corporate role and less of a congregational role. They were being controlled from above, big time.
Yeah, that was really sad because I just felt that closeness to everybody. We'd stay at the same hotels for conventions so that we could go swimming together, and
Yeah. No, it was different. It's very. I don't think they liked the fact that families, either the a single family
and
or families connected with other families were becoming. I don't think they liked the closeness, because I think they were afraid of a united front that the families could use against the elders, and I think they sought to break that up. That's what I think.
Did you mention the book study?
Book study.
Yeah, that I think that happened like during the book study. They stopped doing the book study because they didn't want people to be so close.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm just wondering if it was the governing body that was.
That's interesting.
yeah, anybody?
Yeah.
I wanted to mention before I forget, Lucy's on the screen right now. Lucy. And Lucy runs on our Discord ExJW recovery, right?
Is it that Lucy?
Is it the right Lucy?
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sure it's the right Lucy.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so Lucy runs ExJW recovery on our Discord channel on Sunday mornings. And it's a really good program. It's not about religion at all. It's about recovering. It's about our minds. It's about writing things down. It's about having a voice. It's just about healing. And healing does take years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to say. This is not something we can fix in a week. There's no magic pill.
No.
So, Lucy, did you have anything to say about that? I just wanted to mention that before we finish up here.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Vern. Yeah, Sunday morning it is it's set up in our Discord channel, and it is at 8 o'clock Central Standard. No, I'm sorry, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. Nope, that's wrong. 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday mornings. It is a weekly 1 hour program. And in order, we use the workbook that Justin from XJW Diaries channel on YouTube created about a year ago. I think it posted almost a year ago now, and it's just a wonderful workbook. He utilized the expertise of several cult recovery coaches and licensed psychologists in order to create the workbook. And it is just a beautiful way of being able to go in and do some introspective work. There is some stuff that you probably don't want to do as a group, but the stuff that we can do as a group together, we pick and choose what we want to work on, and it's just very casual. And if anyone wants help downloading the workbook, and anybody's welcome to join us on Sunday morning. So thank you, I appreciate it. Over.
Well, thanks, Lucy, for giving us a recap. So that's an excellent program. I went through that workbook myself, and I recommend it to everyone that comes out of the org. It gets you thinking a bit different, and it really helps us. So we're gonna probably keep the show Sundays around similar to what we're doing. So anybody else want to come online? We're not going to make it a 4-hour show or anything like that. But we wanted to give a platform through the week, Sundays, for people to come on, and if they have scriptural things they want to talk about. We're not against the Bible, but we are into researching it and finding out how it was all put together and how it was used to control us. Because I'll tell you, if you were a JW, you were controlled with that book. And the book wasn't lying. It does talk about headships and all these things. But once you start looking at that book, holy smokes, you can really find a lot of stuff that's makes you go, okay, well, why did Jehovah and Satan have this deal in heaven to kill Job and all those people? Like, there's lots of stuff that makes you go, really? Yo, you have a lot to say, Joe, don't you?
Yeah, Vern, if I can offer something, I just went through it was a 3.5 hour video of archaics on Jason Brashears. He does really deep, well documented his dive into history, and what he did, he traced through history and through the writings and the path of the Israelites after they left their region and when they entered into Europe and beyond in Asia. And it's really eye-opening because the point is the tribes were never lost. They said the lost tribes of Israel, where did they go? They were never lost. It's just that history wrote them as lost because they didn't want them to be identified. In other words, they hid that from us. It's information that they were successfully hid from us in history, in the story books that they wrote, and the history books that they wrote. But now, with not only internet, but people that have been able to take deep dives into the older books and now present them, it's becoming clear that what they hid. And he said it's really surprising who the lost tribe of Israel is. In other words, what peoples that they are. And they said you'd be surprised if you found out who they really are. I highly recommend it.
Well, we're going to do that Tuesday. It's going to be his story. We're doing like the last 20 minutes of that video. It's a 3-hour video, like Joe said.
I recommend it to anybody.
But we're just
we'll look forward to learning more about this. Maybe you can share some of that on your channel.
It would be very little. It really will. But for anyone who's interested in it, it's going to take about a 3-hour listen, not to us, but to Jason. He's eminently more qualified at relating it than I am. The information's there. It is out there. It's available. It's documented. He has all of the footnotes as to where it came from. It's not his opinion, and the information is out. So much has been hidden from people. They had successfully hid it from us, or they rewrote it in the history books. But now it's coming clear, what it is that they were hiding. And for anybody,
even a lot of the Gnostic texts have come out now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hidden stuff, and it's coming out. Like this whole thing about Paul. Like I just did a little bit of research here, not too deep, but Paul, Jesus, they were all about the women. This hierarchy came at the time that the Romans wanted to capture. They actually invented Christianity. The Romans. It was part of their invention.
Well, let's just say that it was their use of Christianity. They said the point that was brought out is that Christianity was always present in the human family. It was not brought about by Jesus. Christianity was always present in human worship.
Well,
They did not.
yeah, because back in the Hebrew scriptures, it's all the way from the beginning with Abel and on. It seems like there's always
Way
been
before.
good men in the
Way,
Bible.
way before. Way before. Way before.
Hey,
Yeah.
Joe, do you think you could put together a show on your history to explain that
No.
all to us? Is
No.
it too deep?
No.
Too
It's too
deep?
much.
So
Too deep.
we are gonna do.
Too
We
deep.
are. We
Well,
are gonna do the.
there'll be a 40-minute part of it.
Yeah.
But this is where if anybody wants to know what's real, they're going to have to put the time into it.
Mhm.
It is so. See, the history and the anthropology, the movement of peoples is pretty complicated. And
It is. Yeah.
I'm the last person in the world that's going to explain it all. But there are others that can, and that's going to help us to really have a firmer grasp on what we believe. Because and someone brought out an interesting point about believing. He said, believing are like leaves on a tree. Every year, there are new leaves
Hmm.
because it's a new season, and the old leaves drop off and new leaves form. And it said
Good illustration.
beliefs are about the same way.
Yeah.
It's like with new information, our beliefs, if they don't change, we end up believing things that aren't true.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, that's what the Bible talks about in the end. Where
You
it's
mean
like
because
outside.
they're not relevant anymore after so long?
Well, they may not even be true. We may have
Yeah.
thought they were true because that was the story at the time. And then, and that's unfortunately, those in power, the whoever had been controlling the narrative, and it hasn't been us. We don't control any narrative. The ones who write history control the narrative. They give us what they want to give us. And if they don't want it, if there's something happened that they don't want us to know, they tell us a story.
Mhm.
Well, eventually, when enough people start talking among themselves, like they are now with the internet, you start to find out the real story, not just history. You find out the real story. And that's exactly what's happening right now. See, they're at the point now where these entities, be it the elite or whoever they are, the ones who control the voice, the media, the Bible, the publications, the publishing companies, they're losing their control because now people are able to speak among themselves. They're able to share knowledge with each other and not just have to listen to big media or history books. Never before in history did we have a forum where we could share information with each other in
Yeah.
real time. Never before in history. Now we do. And
Yeah.
and the information is so accessible. And I'm so glad that there are ones that have done the deeper research than I'll ever do, and that are sharing it. And the point is, they're not the only ones. There are others that are sharing the same information, so it's resonating.
Yeah, it is.
It's not just one person's story. They're
No,
just picking it up, and others are picking it up too. So in other
I've
words,
been seeing a lot of things on. Like I watched some of Jason's stuff. Let me see, how would I put it? He does believe that, and like you say, based it all on research. He does believe that man's, like the modern day man's, probably only like the Bible. The Adam was a creation. The Adam of man, a creation from man. There was a prehistoric man that they used, and they created the Adam, and the Adam was a slave. There's that whole Anunnaki theory in there. That's Jason kind of explains it his way, and it's all in.
And frankly, he's not the only one.
No, everyone is.
In fact,
and the whole thing that God, the God or whatever the God is, but there was 70 gods on Earth. Like there's various ones. This is all over the earth. It's been hidden by the Bible. Somehow we've been hidden from this.
Jehovah was one of the gods. He was one
of
of the gods.
Yahweh. Yeah.
Yeah. He was the jealous one.
Yeah, the jealous one.
I mentioned
He
it
was the
earlier.
jealous one.
Oops.
Yeah. So
And
this
so
stuff
he
can
was-
all be real, and if it's real still, okay, if I think it's real right now, like as a JW, we believed it's all real. So let's say it's all real. There's all these gods. Well, it's no wonder there's all this fighting in the Middle East, and maybe all these UFOs is all part of these gods. Maybe there's a big fix gonna come. I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. What does Archaic say?
What Archaic
I don't have the answers.
I love UFOs and things like that.
Okay,
But
I'm gonna throw something in. He said the mistake people are doing, the distraction, is that they're looking up when they should be looking down. In other words, the total distraction is up. He says that's wrong. There's nothing from up. It's all down. It's all under the earth.
They live in the ground.
There have been cities underground for millennia.
You ever watch Y-Files? Y-Files? He talks about some of that.
Once in a while. Yeah, once in a while. Yeah. Yes.
But
I'm
anyways, a
telling
lot of the guys online are trying to pull research in and what's going on in that Mount something in Alaska. Mount.
Remember?
How does the fish say it? Y-Files.
yeah,
Oh, no.
Ancient Aliens has a lot of that too.
They say they're
Mount
distressed.
F and something.
Yeah. You gotta
Anyways, you guys talk. San Diego, did you have something you wanted to say before we close the show down?
Not much. I think sometimes when reality it hits you, it just can feel like a total implosion to a certain degree. I mean, it's kind of like all of a sudden, like the reality that you knew, all of a sudden was completely false. And I always remember in the organization when they always told me about that I would make the perfect elder because I was always caring and this like that, and then that part of that breakdown that I had the other evening when I was part of because of the elder's questions to that little girl, or not to the little girl, but to her mother when she was abused and beaten by her father, and of course her siblings too. That's part of the reason why you wouldn't have recognized who she was when they interviewed her, when she disfigured herself versus the photos that they showed. The elders were the ones that were saying you need to be a better wife and to pray more. And it's like, how in the world can you tell me that I'm going to be a perfect elder if you're telling me that I'm going to have to be cold and callous like that? Seriously?
Yep.
And that's like that was part of it. And I think what it is because everything that I've been learning hasn't been anything different from the ExJW community. The ExJW community has been saying this for years. And when I finally pieced it together, it was like that explains all those signs that they've been holding at those district, aka regional conventions, where they say victims are shunned and while the whatever it is are protected or something like that. And it's like this so-called loving organization is totally like kind of like it was just totally like it was a topsy-turvy and the domino effect right there. And I think that's probably part of the reason why I blasted off the way that I did that evening. I mean, I'm not going to apologize for being a human about it. I mean, because but it was just one of those things where it just hit me like a freaking brick right in my face right there. And I'm glad it happened to a degree because I think anybody who's still in my status and probably those who are going to wake up later on, they're going to probably have to go through this breakdown once it hits the fan. And of course I'm editing it. Finally caught myself, but yeah, it's going to hit them the same way. And Lord, it's going to hurt when they find out. I could tell you that much.
Doug, there's absolutely no need for apologies, San Diego. Anyone who has, and this goes for everybody, anybody who has beliefs, they're going to be challenged. There's a saying, it says, belief is the enemy of knowing. If a person has beliefs, all they're going to do is is protect and defend their beliefs in the face of knowledge.
Yeah.
That's all they're going to do.
Yep. Yep.
Just
I
as an
agree.
example, when I was little, I believed in Santa Claus. Well, I believed in Santa Claus. I should be defending that belief. But no, see, I came to realize, oh, I see, it was just a story. Well, so it goes. How many more things in life are like that, where we have to maintain that attitude of, I see, it was just a story. I see, that was just a story too. Yeah, okay, yeah, that too. This too. It was just a story.
Paul Wallace, he also brings up some good stuff. I know Jason doesn't like a lot of these guys, but I listen to all of them because through a multitude of counselors, you can find a lot of you can figure a lot of things out too.
You listen to everything, of course.
Laura says
I just remember the flat Earth era. Everybody was talking about the flat Earth thing. Oh
why are they talking about the flat Earth?
Oh, they were saying that the Earth was flat. I don't know. They go in the. People have all kinds of strange ideas in this world, but that one was a big one. I mean,
keep an open mind. Keep an open mind, sister.
Oh gosh.
Keep an open mind.
But I wouldn't doubt it with the life underneath the planet. I mean, inside the planet or whatever. I've heard that one a lot, and well, just think of all the caves that people used to live in.
They say it's easier to convince. It's harder to convince a person that they've been fooled than it is to fool them. Once a person believes something, all they're going to do is defend it. Very few people maintain an open mind so as to.
Okay, here's one. Santa. I can make Santa work.
I still believe in Santa.
Do you know how you make Santa work? You can make it work. Okay. So it's all tied in. It's all tied into Christ. It's all tied into the Holy Spirit. So Saturnalia. Saturnalia. Santa came about. The Holy Spirit is all over the earth. So what happens? It's good energy. The Holy Spirit responds to good energy. It responds to positive energy. So the kids want presents. So the kids are putting out good energy. They want presents. They talk about their presents. They talk about what they want. The Holy Spirit, Santa, can come down your chimney of your house, the Holy Spirit, and make this all happen. You can believe in anything you want to believe in. You can actually believe that's true as an adult and say, yeah. It's a time of the year where there's a lot of positive energy, except JWs. Put aside them. That's just a small little bit of the people. Yeah. But that energy, there's a lot of good. They go out to the homeless. There's a lot of positive energy in the universe. That spreads Saturnalia. Santa's in our house. I don't know.
Beautiful.
You can make anything work.
It's true.
Let me ask you this, just to leave with a thought. How do you make the Statue of Liberty work?
I don't know.
Or do you know what the Statue of Liberty represents? What it is?
You tell me. You're going to have a better explanation than me.
Well, just think of the god Saturn.
Right.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Right. I never thought of that.
What does the god Saturn have to do with the quote-unquote New World? The New World
Order, the one world order.
What does the ancient god Saturn have to do with our lives, such that they should put this huge idol in front of our faces? Did you ever wonder?
There's a lot of things I think we can learn. So maybe next Sunday we come back and we carry on, guys. We like this, right? We like talk. Yeah. I like this talk, and I have no one to talk to. Quite
strange
honestly,
things. Yeah.
And don't forget Tuesday we're on our His Story.
Yeah, in the morning.
No, 11 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, Eastern Standard
Eastern
Time.
Standard.
We'll have.
So
We'll
I
talk
wanted to
about-
say hi to Japan, Tad
Yeah.
Yoshi, Kase.
Hi, Yoshi.
Hello, Japan.
Hello, hi to Japan.
How do you say
Nice.
hello,
Yeah.
Japan?
So yeah, let's do this next week, you guys. You like this channel? We'll do it every Sunday night.
Yeah,
Oh, it's great.
that's
Thank
great.
you very much.
And we can just keep
Donna.
sharing, you know, because sharing is learning, and I don't have all the answers. I don't want to pretend like I have all the answers because I hardly know anything.
No.
What,
But
what
you
time
guys-
Pacific
answers.
time? What time
We're
on
gonna-
the Pacific time?
Just like tonight, 9 o'clock our time. What's that? Or what do we come on? 7 our time, 9 o'clock New York.
Konnichiwa.
I think it's 7 o'clock Pacific time over here. I should be back home by then. I got a run event that I'm going to be doing at one of our local or a couple of cities over. So it's a 5K run. I'm going to be participating, but
Wow,
boy.
good
I'll
for
be
you.
sure I
Wow.
I'll
Good
be
luck.
sure that I may be online, but I'll make sure I shower and change and get a nap before then. So
Nice.
So is this a good time for everyone?
Yeah.
Good time.
Yeah. So we can have any kind of a topic just on Discord, throw in some ideas. This week I just picked something from the Watchtower. We might do that. Just pick something from the Watchtower, break it apart a bit, and then
Hey,
have a
Vern.
discussion.
Hey, Vern.
Yes.
Yeah, we found out how to say hello in Japanese. Joe can
Oh, how do
say
you do that?
Konnichiwa?
konnichiwa. Just
Konnichiwa?
yeah.
I think.
Just Google hello in Japanese and it comes up.
I think it's
Oh,
konnichiwa.
cool.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. There you go.
There.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
we're going to say goodbye to everyone.
Love you all.
Bye.
Ciao.
Love you guys.
all right, love you all.
See you later.
Right.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Ciao.
I'll play my little movie again.
Oh,
Yes.
good. We missed it.
Made this today.
That's
Shauna
good.
made this show up today. We were sitting here having coffee this morning. Go ahead, talk. Shauna's not on? Okay, my good wife. So she made this show up. And then I have fun making these little movies, you know, like the kitty cat one. Those are fun.
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah.
Makes me
Okay,
think
everyone.
I-
We love you all.
Love
Love
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night, everyone.
Good night.
Keep an open mind.
Yeah. Okay. Should we run it?